Imagine being stranded in the desert, starving, dehydrated, barely alive. You hear helicopters overhead. You see search teams in the distance. You try to signal them, but they don't see you. They walk right past. Not once, but twice. This isn't fiction. This happened to a man named Ricky Megee, and somehow, against every odd, he lived to tell the story. By the time rescuers finally found him, he'd lost over half his body weight. He'd been eating insects and leeches to survive, and he'd spent 71 days completely alone in one of the most unforgiving places on Earth. This is how he made it out alive. In early 2006, Ricky Megee was just a regular guy trying to make a living. He was 35 years old, working as a fisherman in Port Hedland, a small coastal town in Western Australia. Nothing fancy, nothing extreme, just a working-class Australian getting by. Ricky wasn't a survival expert. He wasn't a seasoned outback explorer. He was familiar with the ocean, sure, but the vast, brutal Australian interior? That was a different world entirely. In January of that year, Ricky decided to make a trip. He needed to get to Broome, a town about 600 kilometers away, for a potential job opportunity. The plan was simple. Drive up the highway, get there in a day, start fresh. Thousands of people make trips like this every year without incident. He packed light, threw some essentials in his car, hit the road. The highway stretched ahead, long and empty, the way most roads do in the outback. Hours of red dirt, scattered bushes, and nothing else for miles. It was supposed to be routine, but routine doesn't always go as planned. Somewhere along the Buntine Highway, in the middle of nowhere, Ricky's trip took a dark turn. According to his account, he picked up a hitchhiker. In the outback, it's not that uncommon. People help each other out. But this time, things went wrong. Ricky claims he was drugged. His drink was spiked. He started feeling dizzy, disoriented. And then, everything went black. When he woke up, he wasn't in his car anymore. He was lying in a shallow hole in the ground, covered in dirt and rocks. His head was pounding, his body ached, and when he looked around, all he saw was endless desert in every direction. No car, no phone, no water, no food, no idea where he was. The realization hit him hard. He was alone, completely alone, in the middle of the Australian outback, one of the harshest environments on the planet. Temperatures swing wildly from scorching heat during the day to freezing cold at night. Water sources are scarce. Rescue is unlikely unless someone knows exactly where to look. And nobody knew where Ricky was. Most people in Ricky's situation would panic. And maybe he did at first. But panic burns energy. And energy was something he couldn't afford to waste. He had to think. He had to make decisions, fast. The first priority was water. Without it, he'd be dead in days. He started walking, scanning the landscape for any sign of moisture. And after what felt like forever, he found it. A small dam, a water hole used by cattle from nearby ranches. It wasn't clean. It was murky, stagnant, probably full of bacteria, but it was water. And water meant a chance. Ricky made a choice right then. He wouldn't try to walk out. He'd stay near the dam. If he wandered off into the desert without knowing which direction to go, he'd die for sure. At least here he had water, and where there's water, there's life. Maybe even people, eventually. He found some shade under a cluster of trees. He gathered branches and built a rough shelter to protect himself from the sun. It wasn't much, but it was something. The next challenge was food. And this is where things got brutal. Ricky wasn't going to find a grocery store out there. He had to eat whatever the land offered. And in the outback, that's not much. He started with grasshoppers. Crunchy, bitter, but edible. Then he moved on to leeches from the dam. He caught frogs, small lizards. Anything that moved and fit in his hand became a meal. It's disgusting to think about, but disgust doesn't matter when you're starving. Days turned into weeks. Ricky's body started to change. His muscles wasted away. His skin clung to his bones. Fat reserves disappeared. He went from weighing around 105 kilograms to just over 45. That's more than 130 pounds lost. His body was eating itself to stay alive. But here's the thing. Ricky didn't give up. He created routines. He'd wake up, drink water, search for food, rest during the hottest part of the day, search again in the evening. Routine kept his mind focused. It gave him purpose. He stayed near the dam because he understood something crucial. Rescue teams look for people near landmarks, roads, water sources, old structures. Wandering randomly into the desert would make him invisible, so he waited. And he survived, one day at a time. But let's be honest, Ricky made mistakes. Mistakes that put him in this situation in the first place. The biggest one? Trusting a stranger on an isolated highway. Whether his story about being drugged is entirely accurate or not, the fact remains picking up hitchhikers in remote areas carries serious risk. Then there's preparation. Ricky didn't have emergency supplies in his car. No extra water, no backup phone battery or satellite communicator. No one knew his exact route or when to expect him. In the Outback, that's not just careless, it's dangerous. And once he was stranded, staying put was a gamble. Yes, it kept him near water, but it also meant he was relying entirely on chance, on someone happening to pass by, on luck. Some survival experts would say he should have tried walking at night when it was cooler, following the highway or power lines. Others would say staying put was smart. The truth is, there's no perfect answer. Both choices could kill you. Ricky chose to stay, and somehow it worked. Here's the part that's almost impossible to believe. Ricky wasn't completely invisible. Search efforts were happening. Helicopters flew over the area. Ground teams checked remote spots. Ranch workers passed through. And according to Ricky, they came close. Twice. He heard helicopters. He tried to signal. He waved. He shouted. But they didn't see him. Why? Because by that point, Ricky didn't look human anymore. He was skeletal, covered in dirt, blending into the landscape. His shelter was made of natural materials. From above, from a distance, he was just another shadow in the bush. Imagine that moment, hearing your only chance at rescue flying overhead, knowing people are looking, and watching them leave. That kind of psychological torture breaks people. The hope, then the crushing disappointment, over and over. But Ricky didn't break. Not completely. He kept going. Day 71. That's how long Ricky had been out there. A group of ranch workers were doing a routine check on livestock near the dam. They weren't looking for anyone. They were just doing their job. And then they saw something. A figure, barely moving, skin and bones, covered in sores and dirt. At first, they weren't sure what they were looking at. When they got closer, they realized it was a person, barely. Ricky was found, but he was in horrific condition. He could barely speak, barely stand. His body had been pushed to the absolute edge of what's survivable. The workers called for help immediately. Emergency services arrived. Ricky was airlifted to a hospital. Doctors couldn't believe he was alive. The level of starvation, the dehydration, the exposure. By all medical logic, he should have been dead weeks ago. But he wasn't. He'd made it. Ricky spent weeks in the hospital. His body needed time to recover from extreme malnutrition. Organs had to stabilize. Infections had to be treated. Physically, he survived. But the experience left marks that don't fade. His story made headlines. Some people believed every word. Others were skeptical. Questions were raised about the details, the drugging, the shallow grave. Police investigated but never found solid evidence to confirm or deny parts of his account. Ricky stuck to his version, and whether every detail is accurate or not, one thing is undeniable. He survived 71 days in the Outback on leeches and willpower. The media attention faded. Ricky returned to a quieter life, but the Outback had changed him. You don't go through something like that and come out the same person. So, what can we learn from Ricky Megee's survival? Lesson 1. Always tell someone your route. If people had known exactly where Ricky was headed, search efforts could have started sooner and focused on the right areas. Lesson 2. Carry emergency supplies. Water, food, a charged phone, a satellite communicator. These things save lives. Lesson 3. Stay near water. If you're stranded, find water and stay close. It's your lifeline. Lesson 4. The will to survive matters. Ricky's physical condition should have killed him, but his mental toughness kept him going when his body was giving up. Lesson 5. Make yourself visible. Bright clothing, signals, anything that stands out. Blending into the environment works against you. Ricky Megee walked the line between life and death for 71 days. He made mistakes, he made smart choices, and he got lucky. But luck alone doesn't keep you alive that long. Survival takes decision-making, adaptability, and a refusal to quit. If search teams can walk past you twice and you still make it out alive, you've earned your story. And Ricky's story is one we won't forget. If stories like this grab you, if you want to hear more about real people who faced impossible odds and somehow made it through, then stick around. Hit that subscribe button, because every week we're bringing you true survival stories that'll leave you thinking about just how far the human spirit can go. New stories drop every week. Don't miss the next one.